Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, which is the YouTube channel dedicated to the construction and development of the Lake Erie and North Shore Railroad. We have an amazing episode today. We're going to prepare the bench, we're going to install, and we're going to program a Walther's 90-foot HO turntable. This is action-packed. It's got lots of good tips, and if you're thinking of putting in a turntable, I think you better watch this. But before that, Mr. Director, play the song.
Across the prairies to the sea, they laid the iron for the rails that we ride. They shared their lives, their hearts, and their pride.
Starting the exciting adventure of installing the turntable into the yard. Now this is the instruction sheet that comes with the turntable. And so what I've done is I've spiked it down, I've pinned it here in the center where I want the turntable to actually be. So I've double checked to make sure that it's where I want it for sure. And then I got to thinking, you know, we've got all these other tracks coming off here in specific spots for things. And I thought, wow, once I cut that hole, it's going to be awful hard to place this thing again. So what I've decided to do is do some marking. Now I'm just going to bring this up, I hope. So you see I've pinned the center, and then I've pinned where I want one of my tracks to go. I've lined it up with a ruler. Now, interestingly, when we pin this, and I just move the pin a little bit, and I just dot where the pin was with this marker. And I move that off, and I peel this up gently. You see the two marks. Now, I've done the other tracks in the local vicinity here too. So I'm just going to draw these in place here. Okay, now I did the same thing for the, let me just, this is over here now, hope you saw that. Did the same thing for the roundhouse. So I drew these lines on the table so that when we remove this and drill the hole, the lines are there where I want the track to go. Okay, I hope, look, I don't know if this is going to work, but it's the only sort of thing I could think of to make sure I had that the lines in place once the hole was drilled. So I go back, get way out, and I'll show you again. Just fold this up. So you can see I've drawn all those tracks on. So, and they're stopping right at where they're supposed to end. So that line I cut for that turntable should go right pretty close to where those tracks are ending there. Okay, so this is just a little idea you might want to try. I don't know yet. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I just thought, wow, once I cut the hole, it's gonna be hard to reposition that paper exact without having some guidelines. So I just screwed those on. This is the Roundhouse here, and we'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna mark the hole, and I'll come back and I'll show you how I do that in 2 seconds. Okay, so I have finished marking off the diagram with my dotted system and drawing the lines. Now I've lined up this scribe unit that I picked up actually pretty cheap from the Bunnings warehouse stores here in Australia. And I've lined up so that you could see here. So the center pin is in the center, pencil is lined up so that when it turns, follows that line exactly. So I'm going to scribe that in, and then we'll come back and we'll look at how it all looks with the markings on the road bed, and we'll see how it goes. You also have to draw a little notch here for the optical sensor. Okay, be back soon. Okay, we're back. I've drawn that circle in, and you can see it has hit the ends of those marker lines pretty darn good. Pretty impressed with that. I've also marked these areas here where there is no track. So that's that no track area, just so I know when I put that in, there's no tracks there. So I don't know, maybe it'll help, maybe it won't. Made sure I had enough clearance on all areas there. So we're gonna go ahead now and cut the hole. Whew. So I'm gonna check under the table, make sure there's nothing under the bench that the hacksaw or the jigsaw could cut or the drill could go into. And I'm probably gonna start with a drill sort of near the end, and then get the jigsaw and just go very, very slowly, trying to follow that line all the way around. All right, I'll get that going, and we'll come back when the hole's finished, hopefully. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, here we are back. Hole's been cut. You see that put the little notch in there. I know where my no track zone is. The lines are there. This is the piece that came out. You can see how the track bed is, or the board is laid. So I have 1/2 inch plywood, then I have the foam, and then I have the cork. Okay, so I'm gonna, you also notice here, a little bit of the cork has not come far enough, so I'm gonna have to put some cork in there before I mount that, or before I put that turntable base in. But all in all, I think I, followed my line pretty close. So we'll see how it all fits. So I'll be back in a second, and we'll see how it fits. Okay, so just so you know, this is the bad boy we're putting in. This is the 90-foot motorized turntable, and comes in a really nice looking box, that's for sure. And so I'll get it out, and we'll try it in the hole, and I'll be back. Okay, so we've got the top of the box off. As you can see, this thing is really packaged nicely. Very impressed. So this plastic comes out. There's the top little bridge section. Put that over there. Here's the track control, or the controller. I'll just put that over there gently. Here's the actual bridge that the train is going to run on. And here's this bad boy that we're going to try and get in. Like I say, this is really packed tight. There we go. So this is the base. There's the optical sensor there. Got the cord, hook it up. Okay, so let's get this base put in and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, so I'm back. You can see I've got the holes drilled. Now, I was listening to Rob Bennett and watched his install, and he recommended using instead of a 5/16, using a 3/16 drill. So I used a 3/16, and I think he's pretty close to the call there. I think 5/16 maybe a bit too big. As you can see, even with 3/16, you're really close to the edge. And you know, sometimes when I put this down, you can just see some of the edge of the drill hole in some of the well, 2 spots anyway for me. And I also filled in this area here with cork, so it's all nice, smooth. Drilled the hole here. Got the little notch there for the optical sensor. Now, the screws they give you are these, and they're not good for anything. They wouldn't even probably go through my cork layer. So, and they're I think they're a 2mm screw, 2M, and you really can't get them anywhere. I've gone all over the place, and you definitely can't get them much longer than this. So again, what I did was I was watching one of the other YouTube videos, and I think Rob also mentioned using an all thread. So I went out and got these all threads. These are a 3mm all thread. So they're not going to fit into the base of the turntable. I'm just going to shift this camera, just excuse the wobble here. Okay, so what I did, being the brave boy I am, went out, I got a 3mm top, and I have been attempting to tap the little holes that are here. You can see these are pretty tiny little things, so you don't really want to bust those. And then when I went out, I bought these. They only had 1 pack, so it was only 5. But I think putting 5 in is probably going to be enough. Okay, because even in the instructions they say if you're going into cork or foam, just punch these in and that's good enough. So it's only in plywood that you have to drill the holes. So I'm thinking, well, if I get 5 of these down, I'll see. If it isn't good enough, I'll use these longer ones that I also got. But I think that's a bit of overkill. So I'm just gonna demonstrate now, hopefully, that I don't blow this thing out. Now I've already done 3 and they've tightened up really good. So I'm quite pleased with those. So I'm gonna do 2 more. I'm gonna do this one, and I'm gonna do this one over here. I think that'll give some support around that optical sensor. And this is the area over here where I've done the 3. That's where most of the tracks are coming off. So I thought I'd get some support there. So the other thing is, when you're doing any work around this, or before you even start to do work, make sure you tape the covers. So tape the electrical units here and the center spot there, so that it doesn't get junk in it. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna do some tapping. I'm gonna tap that. Okay. So let's just zoom down a little bit. Sorry about moving this camera so much. I'm going to try and tap these. Now, what the secret here is just, that I've learned is you just go very slow. Put a little bit of weight on. And as that tap starts to sink, you'll see that plastic starts to gather. And we got a little bit of tap forming there. I'm going to go a little more just because I'm brave. Okay, now I just reverse that out. I just want to make sure we didn't go through. Nope, that's good. Now we'll see if this goes in. Now I just do these with finger pressure until they start to catch. And I use these little pliers. Just give them a couple more turns until it tightens up. Now you'll see, that's pretty tight. See, that's in there. It's going to hold that well. Now I'm just going to turn this again. We're going to do the last one, hopefully without incident. Okay, so now I'm just going to reposition the camera, and we're going to see if we can put this in the hole. With the little notchy things here. I'm just going to see if I can guide those into the hole. Look at that. We have success. And I'll just go under, tighten those up. I have these little nuts to go on, and Walther's has actually included some washers. I don't know how good they are, but I think I'm going to get metal washers, I think, and just tighten these down. But that has done a really good job, and that's down pretty good. Now you see here, that's a little, let me just zoom in on that a little bit. Sorry, make you all dizzy. But you can see a little tidge of the drill hole, and that's at 3/16. Think of 5/16. You've just seen a lot, I'll tell you. So I think start with that's what I would recommend, is start with 3/16, and if you have to, just sort of make the holes a little bit bigger with, you know, running the drill in and out. You got to wiggle it around a little bit, but you know, that's in there. That's pretty good. I have to say, pretty pleased. So I'm going to go down onto the table. We're going to put the bolts on, the nuts, sorry. I'm going to put the nuts on, and then I'll join you again for the next phase. Okay, be back soon. Okay, so there it is. I crawled under the layout and put those nuts on the screws that we put in. And I'll tell you what, it's a good thing that the nuns weren't in earshot, because there was a few profanities being thrown around. Putting on those little nuts with those washers will challenge you. So when you go down under to put those on, you just resign yourself to the fact that it's going to be a bit frustrating. They take in extra nuts and take in extra washers and a little pair of pliers. I tightened them on by hand first, just by finger weight. And then I came up once they were snug and gave a couple twists with the pliers. And as you can see, this thing is in there, man. That's like sturdy, not going anywhere. So, you know, I don't think you need all 8, but you can put all 8 in if you want. It's just going to take you longer underneath and you're going to swear more. But anyway, that's up to you. I put 5 in. It seems to be okay. I put the 3 where the track, most of the track is coming in, and I put 1 here and 1 here so that the light sensor gets a bit of support. Okay, so next we're going to, I think we're going to do some weathering on this, which that's not, I don't think that's my strong point at all. I haven't done that a lot, so it's going to be interesting. And everybody that has one of these has commented on don't get anything in this track. So I think I'm gonna, I don't know, I'll tape it or something so that nothing gets on there, and then we'll start weathering. Okay, so that's the adventure of putting the turntable base in, and I hope it was helpful for you, and I hope you learned something. And I learned a lot from a lot of the videos that are out there, YouTube videos, and but again, I gotta refer back to Rob Bennett's installation video. It was really good. Covers a lot of stuff, things you don't think about, and hopefully I brought most of those up. And so that's a shout out to Rob. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate your help. And so come back next time and we will start the weathering process, and then we'll start laying the track down and all the other steps that have to be done. Okay, kind of excited about this, so we'll see. Oh, I know what I want to talk to you about. Just one other thing. So excuse me while I move around here. Okay, so this, I was running some trains just to try everything out here in the new yard, and every time we hit this switch, we derailed. And I really ran that engine back and forth and the cars back and forth till finally I realized what the problem was. And that is, if I zoom right in, look at this. That switch track has pulled right out. This one's okay on this side. That one pulled right out. Every time the train hit it, boom, derail, derail. So I've gone out and I got another one. And so we're gonna put that new switch in the next few minutes. So I may show a video of that too. Okay, it doesn't really go with the turntable, but I thought this is something everybody should look out for, because I didn't even notice this. I had to look really, really hard, and there was shorts happening, and the PM42 was going off, and I'm thinking, what is going on here? So check those. I don't know how that happened, and I don't think you can fix it. At least I'm not going to worry about it. I just went out and bought another one. Okay. So I'll come back when we're installing that switch maybe. Okay. Okay, so we're back with the turntable installation. And I have, just to show you this, this is just a piece of felt or floor covering underlay stuff that I've cut just to lay over this so it doesn't get stuff in it. So that's just sitting there. Keeping that clean. It can kind of go up higher like that. Okay, so that's just a cover. But I've set up So this is going to be an engine house here, 3-track engine house. So I've set up 2 of the tracks going into the turntable. Just give you a zoom in just to show you how that's going to interconnect with the yard there. And now what I want to do is, well, I just wanted to show you that you have to, if you're going to have the engine house and the roundhouse and some of the tracks going into the turntable, you have to give it a little bit of forethought and line it up so that all the tracks are going to work. So I've just pinned these down right now just to make sure they're going to work. And let's see here, there's little grooves in here. So all of this track, all these ties have to come out, which I'm hoping is not going to be that difficult. I've never really done it from like in the middle of a track before, so I'll show you what happens when I do that once I do it. I'm just giving you an overview right now. And the other thing I found out is the actual bridge that goes across this turntable has code 83 track. And I'm using code 100 track. Now in the Walther's manual, it says that you can get transition tracks from the 83 to the 100. Now, I was talking to the guy at the hobby store, and he says, no, you don't need to do that. The code 100 will match with the code 83. You just got to file down the code 100 to match. So I don't know if that's going to work or not, but I'm going to believe him and give it a go. Now, the next thing I want to point out is this is the 3-stall roundhouse, 3-stall roundhouse from Walther's that I'm going to be using. And it's interesting because they have in the turntable instructions, they actually have a pattern for this, which I've used to draw these lines. Now what I've done is I've laid out the foundation, which comes in 3 different pieces, like this. Okay, so I've laid out this foundation, put it together, and then I outlined the foundation here so I can see exactly where that's going to sit. So I made sure that I had clearance here on this house, and I also got to fit in my gas tank over here, which I haven't done yet. But the other thing is it comes with these trenches or pits, okay, which sit here. And then, so what you have to do is you have to carve out a space for these pits, okay, so that they'll fit in flush. So this little tab has to be flush. And then, once that's done, this will sit on top like this, and you'll have a pit underneath your locomotive. Okay, let me just see if I can get that set a little better. So stairs going down, and then the pit. Okay, now when I first took the stuff out, I didn't realize that these pits had to be dug in to the actual cork first, and so I was a little confused as to how they were going to fit in. But now I understand. So you dig this out, carve this out so that the pit fits down flush, and then the foundation goes over top. Okay, so I'm going to place my gas tank, and then I'm going to dig out these trenches, put the pits in, lay this track, and I'll get back to you then, and we'll see how we're going. It's very interesting. Now, what I've done over here is I've just had the track come over, okay, and then once I line it up, I'll cut the track so that it lines up perfectly with the radiation, so the radial edge of the turntable. Okay, so once I have done that, then I'll file this down, because you have to file the inner edge by about 3-4 mils in on a nice angle, and that way the train wheels will transition nicely from the turntable bridge to these service tracks. Okay, so that's just a quick update. Just was a little bit frustrated, I suppose, when I read in the manual about the code 83 track, the code 100 track, and then you have to order transition tracks, and I thought, wow, they could have told you that, you know, like, because, you know, I'm gonna have to wait a month for these transition tracks to come. But now the hobby guy says, no, you don't really need them. So I'm gonna try that. If it doesn't work, then I'll have to go ahead and order them. Okay, I'll let you know on the next update how things are going. We'll put the gas tank into place, make sure there's enough room and clearance, lay down the tracks, and then we'll come back and I can join you then. Okay, just a quick update here. So I've got the, I suppose the troughs or the trenches gouged out of the train table base. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, this was a lot more fiddly than I thought it was going to be. And now that I've realized, I should have known that it is, you have to be really exact with this. So these these little bays, so they have to sit so that the ends of the stairs can be a little bit mobile, see? And then what I've done here, so I've made the middle one a little bit bigger, just to give some wiggle room. And you just make sure you don't go bigger than the little flanges on the side. There we go. Get that all sit in there. Now these just clip in. You'll feel them when they grab. It's hard to do with one hand. Sorry. Just get them a bit into place here. Like I say, it's a hard thing to do with one hand. Sorry. I know they fit because I just had them in. There we go. It's really hard to do with one hand. What I might do is put the camera, be right back, and put the camera in the stand and I'll show you. Okay, we're back. Camera in the stand now. So let me just start again here. Got these positioned. I know this one needed to come a bit that way. Now you'll feel when they grab. So that one's grabbed.
Okay, so now a little bit of weight on that. Hold that down tight, but there's no stress areas on that. But I'll tell you, it is a bit tricky. You really do have to wiggle and niggle, and I would start small on the trench sizes and work out. You don't really want to have it too big because then they'll fall through. Okay, but there it is set up now. I'm just going to set the track in there and we'll be back in a minute. Got these 2 tracks in now. So the rails have been removed from these. And these obviously are sticking over where they need to be so that I can clip those when I'm ready. And I'm just going to demonstrate how I do this. Just going to grab a piece of track. This is just how I do it. And there's probably a better way, probably many better ways. But, so here's a piece of track, piece of flex track. So what I'm going to do is just line it up. First of all, what I'll do is I'll take about 4 rails off the end. And I'm going to set that onto my onto the turntable where it needs to go. Okay, line the tracks up. Now I'm going to mark the first rail that I have to go to, and I'm going to go back here. I'm going to mark the rails where they need to be. Okay, so you can see, I hope, maybe not, but I've marked this one. Now I know this, all these ties have to stay, but that one can go. And then down here, I've marked, where did I mark that? Right here. I don't know if you can see that. I've marked the track where I need to cut it. And it's not showing up very well, but it is right here. Get it on the camera, Andy. Right there. Now, I'm going to also mention this whole cutting discussion, or cutting, how people cut the track. Some people will say that you cut the track this way. Some people will say you cut the track this way. So you see the one, you're cutting from the bottom up or the top down. The other way, you're cutting sideways. Now, what I have found, I've done it both ways, and what I have found is that if you cut this way, now remember, the flat side, see that flat side, has to go to the side that you want to keep. And then you flip the track over, and you do the same thing on the other side where you've marked it. Then I'm going to have to go in here, clip that track off here. There we go. And I'm going to put that over there. This is the piece we want. Put it in there. Now remember, you now have to take the rails out. So you can cut any way you want, I think, but if you listen to the experts who do this all the time, they say you damage the track less when you cut this way. Boom. Not this way or this way. But, you know, that's up to you. You cut however you want. I just found that when you cut this way, you don't really have a lot of maintenance work on the track. A little bit of filing, but that's it. Okay, now how do we take these rails out? So what we do is we just go to an area. See this little break in the track. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and make this bigger. Okay, not focused. Okay, see this little break in the track here? You just go and cut the area next to it. Just slide those off. And then you can go down pretty easily a couple groups. Slide those off. And keep checking on the other side. Just remember, we've marked that one. So that's our last one that we're going to go to. Just slide those off. Now, once you start getting fewer and fewer ties, you have to be more careful because you don't want to bend these. Wait, there's a funnel in there. So I'll go here. That one just pulled out a little bit too much, and that will happen. You just rethread it. Look on the other side. That's the last rail there. So we're going to cut here and here. Bring this off. Now we have our free rails and our track. I'm just going to bring this back down now. And I'll put it in, and you can see how well it works. Now, you'll see this one track is a bit long. I'm just going to cut that. And you have to watch when you cut, when there's no rails on it. You have to really hold that, or when there's no ties, you really have to hold that rail tight. Okay, those fit pretty good. And then we can just slide our rails back tight to the turntable. And there we go. Now, we can bring this back a little bit because I might have got a little bit too carried away with that. But the point is, there we go. I can put that tie back in there. There we go. Okay, so that's sort of how I do it, and I'm sure there's a lot of other ways to do it, but let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and if you got a better way, let me know. I would love to know. Thank you. I'll see you when we have these tracks in place, and I'll also have hopefully the outline of where the gas tank's going to go. All right, so there's where we're at so far. Catch you in the next update. Got these two tracks in now. So the rails have been removed from these. And these obviously are sticking over where they need to be, so that I've I can clip those when I'm ready. And I'm just going to demonstrate how I do this. I'm just going to grab a piece of track. This is just how I do it. And there's probably a better way, probably many better ways. But, so here's a piece of track, piece of flex track. So what I'm going to do is just line it up. First of all, what I'll do is I'll take about 4 rails off the end. And I'm going to set that onto my onto the turntable where it needs to go. Okay, line the tracks up. Now I'm going to mark the first rail that I have to go to, and I'm going to go back here. I'm going to mark the rails where they need to be. Okay, so you can see, I hope, maybe not, but I've marked this one. Now I know this, all these ties have to stay, but that one can go. And then down here, I've marked, where did I mark that? Right here. I don't know if you can see that. I've marked the track where I need to cut it. And it's not showing up very well, but it is right here. Get another camera ready. Right there. Now, I'm going to also mention this whole cutting discussion, cutting, how people cut the track. Some people will say that you cut the track this way. Some people will say you cut the track this way. So you see the one, you're cutting from the bottom up or the top down. The other way you're cutting sideways. Now, what I have found, I've done it both ways, and what I have found is that if you cut this way, now remember, the flat side, see that flat side, has to go to the side that you want to keep. And then you flip the track over, and you do the same thing on the other side where you've marked it. Then I'm going to have to go in here, clip that track off here. There we go. And I'm going to put that over there. This is the piece we want. Put it in there. Now remember, we now have to take the rails off. So you can cut any way you want, I think, but if you listen to the experts who do this all the time, they say you damage the track less when you cut this way. Boom. Not this way or this way. But, you know, that's up to you. You cut however you want. I just found that when you cut this way, you don't really have a lot of maintenance work on the track. A little bit of filing, but that's it. Okay, now how do we take these rails out? So what we do is we just go to an area. See this little break in the track. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and make this bigger. Okay, that focused. Okay, see this little break in the track here. you just go and cut the area next to it and just slide those off. And then you can go down pretty easily a couple of groups. Slide those off. Now keep checking on the other side. Just remember, we've marked that one. So that's our last one that we're going to go to. I can just slide those off. Now, once you start getting fewer and fewer ties, you have to be more careful because you don't want to bend these. And then where are we? There's our final one there. So we'll go here. That one just pulled out a little bit too much, and that will happen. You just rethread it. Look on the other side. That's the last rail there. So we're going to cut here and here. Bring this off. Now we have our free rails and our track. I'm just going to bring this back down now. And I'll put it in, and you can see how well it works. Now, you'll see this one track is a bit long. I'm just going to cut that. And you have to watch when you cut, when there's no rails on it. You have to really hold that, when there's no ties, you really have to hold that rail tight. Okay, those fit pretty good. And then we can just slide our rails back tight to the turntable. And there we go. Now, we can bring this back a little bit because I might have got a little bit too carried away with that. But the point is, there we go. I can put that tie back in there. There we go. Okay, so that's sort of how I do it, and I'm sure there's a lot of other ways to do it, but let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and if you got a better way. Okay, so I'm just going to go over how I pulled these center rails out so that this could sit in the foundation of the engine shop. So the first thing I did was I dotted in between all the rails. I'm pulling out the pins. I'm just going to pull this track out. I'm just going to fill this line in. Okay. Now, before you take the track out, what you should do is mark what rails you want out. So this, if I keep that in, is going to be interfering, so I'm going to have to take that rail out. I'm gonna have to go all the way to that rail. So I've marked those. Now, what I do, I just want to make sure I'm on the camera here. Okay, so what I do is I take my clipper, and now I'm going to clip closest to the rail I want to take out, just like that. And then I'm going to clip just the first few of these little plastic holders in. And I'm going to pop these out. Okay, so now I know where my end is. I'm not going to go too far that way. I'll go back to the next rail I marked. I'll cut that. I'm just going to clip these little holders off, just the first couple, and you can just pull those off. And then after that, gently, you can just push these rails off. Now I'm just reinforcing the rails really close to my fingers as I move up, so I really don't want to bend them. Now I have that section of track with no rails. Put it back in. Take the track along its intended route and pin it. Want this track is so that when it, just before it comes into the engine house, I want a little bit of straight. Okay, so we don't hit the sides when the engines are trying to go in, so we need clearance. So we want to keep that straight. Go back over here and just going to put this together now. There we go. I'm just going to put a pin there just to hold that for what I want it to be. Okay, so let's see if I can get the camera out of here without shaking too much. So there we go, the tracks are in. This one is sticking out just a little bit, but we will, sorry about that, get your fingers in there, buddy. These are looking pretty good, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I just thought I'd show you how to do that, because I had never really done that before, so I didn't know how hard it was going to be, but it wasn't that hard actually. It was pretty simple. Just take your time, hold that track close to where you're removing the track from so that we don't bend anything. Okay, excellent. I'll come back when I have some more. Okay, so started cutting these tracks so that they're going to be exactly where they need to be for when the carriage comes around. Now they're pretty rough right now. I'm gonna have to file these a lot. And you have to also file the inside rail on an angle a little bit, just so that it matches the track. Now here's just a little tip. When you go to cut the track, if this is how you did it, maybe you didn't do it this way, but this is the way I did it. So now when I go to cut the track, I can't get these cutters exactly on how I want. So when I try to cut it, the track bends and it rips the track out. So you have to make sure you put some support on there. Just hold that in with a pair of pliers and then come in and then just cut it. Hold it in, pair of pliers, cut it. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. But I'm just going to keep going. Hold it. Come in. See, it bends. So if you don't stabilize that track, it'll just pull it right out and ruin your track. Okay, there we go. They're all done. Now I just have to file them off. And then we'll do a bit more weathering on the turntable. And then we'll see if this thing even works. Okay, so I'll come back once I have these all filed. You don't really need to see me do that, I don't think. And then when I start the weathering, I'll show you how we do it, or how I do it. Okay, thanks, bye-bye. Okay, we're back with the weathering on the turntable. So you can see I have taped all those little gears down, and then right here there's the optical sensor, which is also got a piece of clear tape over it. Now I've put on the first 2 coats of this Dulux stone. It's a stone effect. Okay, and you'll notice that it looks very, let me just get in here, very grainy and like gravelly, like a sort of a concrete mix. Okay, so I've put that on there. And note that this is covered. That's going to be your electrical connections to the main swing gate. Okay, so I just thought I'd update you with that. Now the next step is, so we have the engine house in place. So the next step is to just put these tracks in place, put these tracks in place, and then we'll come back and update you at that point. Okay, excellent. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Okay, so this is the first layer of the weathering on the turntable. What I used was Rust-Oleum Ultramat. I think this is slate. I used poster paint, and this is called burnt umber. And I used this Dulux Rust Effect. Sprayed them all onto a piece of wax paper, mixed variety together on a sponge, and then just simply dabbed and scraped the sponge. Here I've made a little bit of heavy rust coming off the tracks. I'm gonna feather that out a bit, put some grass in there, and
I'm also going to put a drain in here because these things would, if it was concrete in real life, and it would just fill up with water. So I've got to have a drain in there. So I'm going to manufacture a drain and put it in there. And I'll bring you guys back once we have that done. Okay, welcome back. We're just in the middle of the sort of weathering and putting some realistic stuff on this turntable. So I'll show you what I've done now. I put the, you saw it last time when I put the first coat of the paint and rust coming from the rails and things like that. Now I've added the drain and I've added some grass growing inside of the pit. And so to put the grass down, I used blended turf. I think this is, I don't know what company this is. I don't know, but anyway, it's just a blended turf. And I use this Hobbycraft glue, diluted 50% with water. And then I sprinkled it on, and then I vacuumed off the excess. Looks pretty good. Now I'll just zoom in here if I can. So I've also put a couple of sticks in front of the drain. You can still see the glue is still a little bit wet there. Put a few pieces of wood laying around, glue still wet. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. See if there's any other little tidbits that we can put in there to make it look real. But so far it's looking pretty good. We'll just keep tinkering away. Now you'll also notice that that gray track has not been painted or doesn't have any stuff on it. You'll also notice here there's the optical sensor that has to be kept absolutely clear. Okay, so well, we'll just all the track has been filed down. Okay, here we are. Just a quick update on how to program this turntable. So we've got the control in. Okay. Now just remember when you're testing this, you have to make sure you remember to turn your track power on. Okay, because if you don't, it'll get halfway on and off and stall. So what I've done is I've aligned this, align the track. So how you do that is you just press this each direction, and maybe what I'll do is I'll show you after we program this one. I'll show you how to do it. So I'm just going to bring this train on. So I'm just making sure that it's lined up. Okay, that's lined up. Now I program in, that's track 6. So I come here, let me just zoom in on this a bit. So the way you do this, you press the track button once, then you press and hold until the blink doubles. See how it's just doubled? Now I just punch in track 6, and I press head, and I hold it till it stops blinking. That's programmed now. Okay, so let's just see how well this worked. So I'm going to take it to track 5. And it has moved to track 5. Now I'm going to take track 6. And there it's moved to track 6. Awesome. So the way you line these up now is you take this, these buttons here that go in one direction or the other. Okay, and then you want to rotate this way. You see, I'm just pressing it and letting it go. Pressing it, letting it go. Let me just zoom in here so you can see. what's happening at the track. I'm pressing it, letting it go. Now I'm just going to press it little dots till it lines up perfectly. I'm going to just walk over, eyeball this. Okay, you see how it's not lined up? So I now have to press that button again. And when I get it lined up, that's one click. Might have to do another one. Actually, that is pretty darn good. I'm going to try the train on that. Sorry about the jiggling camera, but I'm trying to walk around here. Let's see if the train will come on. Whoops. Got to turn on the track power. Very nice. Put it back on. And there we have it. That's how you program this thing. It's pretty easy, and it works really well. I'm amazed at how this lines up. It's a very good kit from Walther's. Okay, so now you know how to program. Maybe I'll just do one more so you can see. This is going to be track number 7 for me. So I'll just zoom down here. So we go track, and then we click track and hold until it blinks, doubles. There you go, see how it's doubled? Then we count up to 7. And then we press head and hold until it stops. That's now programmed. Now, the head is where the little cabin is, or the little booth on the bridge. Okay, so I'm going to just move this to 6. And then I'll move it back to 7. Now let's see if it's lined up. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, I'll program the rest of these, and then we'll put the rest of that bridge together. There's a little power thing that goes over top, and then I think the turntable will be a success. I think I just have a couple tracks to file down a little bit. I just a bit of a bump when they come across. So I'll just file those a bit more. And the turntable is about to be done and dusted. I just have to put that little crossbar across the top. Then we'll come back. Pretty exciting time. Wow, a lot of work on this, but it's working great. Okay, talk soon.